Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the Two Ewes of Two Ewes Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at twoewesfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our Two Ewes Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Betterinmotion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Marsha. I just had to look to see if it was actually still morning, and it is.
It is. It's technically morning.
It's technically morning. I am very tired.
Well, you have big news.
I do, yeah. Anybody who follows me on Instagram, and if you don't follow me on Instagram, you should. 100 Projects, number 100 Projects. You will have seen that we have a new addition to the family. Mm-hmm. And I know that raising a baby, that type of new addition to the family, is much more difficult than what I'm doing. It's only actually been 2 days and things are already getting better, but I am totally exhausted. We adopted a new dog. Mm-hmm. So his name is Bear. I call him Beary. He is, I don't know if I told you, Marsha. I'll tell everybody how this actually happened. We were not looking for another dog. I mean, we do.
Yes, I don't. And everybody, my brother asked me, so why did they do this? And so, yes.
Why did you do this? Yeah. So, I mean, we miss Nash, we lost him in the fall, and he was kind of nice to have around. And Aunt Betty liked having a dog when we would go off to have a dog to stay home with her. Mm-hmm. But we weren't really looking for another dog at this point. And I actually think a one-dog household is too few dogs. Mm-hmm. But again, we weren't really thinking about another dog at this point. Bailey's still young, and I still got a lot of work to do with her. So, but anyway, my friend Paul is interested in getting a dog, and he's been talking about it for, I don't know, maybe 2 years. And first he wanted to get a lab, and he was asking me about lab breeders that I knew. And then he was thinking maybe he'd get this breed and maybe that breed. And he just, for listeners, he's a friend that I've had since I started at Hartnell. And I helped him find his first dog, which was a boxer that I co-owned with him and trained and did obedience, got her CD title. And then he got... I helped him find his last dog, which was a wire hair pointing Griffon. So anyway, now he's looking for another dog. And I just, I said, you're working so hard at this, trying to find a dog online and feeling concerned. Why don't you look at maybe a rescue? Oh, I don't know. I think I want to raise a puppy. I want to know what it's going to be like. But, he was kind of not really open to it, but
he didn't say no.
Right. Yeah. So periodically, over the last couple of months, because every time I talk to him, he's like, I need to get a dog. What do you think about this breed? What do you think about that breed? So I just thought, I'm going to go on and look at the shelters. So I did. And I did this about 2 months ago, I guess. I went to look at the shelters, and there really isn't much. In fact, that's an interesting thing that the shelters all have shortages. But anyway, I saw this German Shepherd male who was very overweight. And I saw him about 2 months ago, and I thought, oh, he's an old guy, a senior. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, he'll be adopted because everybody's being adopted now. This is how it's working. Mm-hmm. And then I went back, and he was still there. And then the third time I went back, he was still there. I texted Robert, and I said, what do you think? It would be like his situation just reminded me of Nash coming to us later in life after kind of a somewhat unknown background, to just kind of be the lay around the house dog. And so Robert said, yeah, okay, I think that might be okay. And so I contacted the SPCA. Well, it was so much faster than Bailey.
Because Bailey was a really long you had to pass a lot of hurdles. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it took.
They had to inspect the house, right? And she had an injury that had to heal too, so that was part of it. But you know, we were out at the boarding facility. I don't know, for 10 days, going every day to see her. You know, before she was able to come home. So I contacted them on Saturday. I emailed or filled out the form on Saturday. I got a phone call. I thought I wouldn't hear back until Monday, but I got a phone call on Sunday saying, do you want to come meet him? Can you come on Monday? So then Robert's like, they're just trying to get rid of him. What's wrong with this dog? And I said, well, what's wrong with him is he's, you know, low thyroid and he has a lot of weight to lose. And, you know, he's 8. They just want to, and he's been there a long time. They just want to get him a home. You know, if we're interested, they're going to take us up on it. But he was really suspicious at how fast it went. And then we went and met him, and they asked us to bring Bailey. So Bailey met him too. And, you know, they kind of didn't really interact. They just kind of did their own thing in the area where they got to meet. We walked them together kind of on leash, and then they were able to both go off leash together, but they pretty much just kind of ignored each other mostly, sniffed a little bit, but that was it. So then, you know, it was like, what do you think? Are you interested? And I said, yes. And so like 20 minutes later, we were leaving, with a ramp because he didn't like getting into the car. And you can't lift him up because he doesn't like being poked or prodded or pushed or lifted or anything like that. And he turns around and grabs you, not biting you, but he does like let you know that he doesn't want you doing that, which we're working on. So anyway, we've had him for 2 days. This is the third day.
But I'm sorry. I mean, it's such a shock because, well, I just think it's amazing that you can just go and get a dog that fast.
Well, that's what Robert said. He said, "How do they know that we're a good home? Like they talked to us for half an hour. You know, we brought Bailey and they saw how Bailey was with him, and then they sent him home with us. Like, how do they know we're going to be good?" You know,
it's like when I gave birth to Ben. I couldn't believe the hospital was going to let me take him home. Don't they know I don't know what I'm doing? I mean, it's kind of amazing that anybody can have a baby and you can just take that baby. Yeah. It's a human, but it's the same thing. And I've told you this too. But my friend that had moved to Spokane came to visit Seattle and got a dog, and literally he just filled out the application, paid his fee, and left with the dog. And then the poor dog is like, came to my house and met Enzo, and we had lunch, and then got in the car and drove across the state.
Yeah.
And it worked out fine. That dog adores Daryl, you know, and Daryl adores the dog. It worked out fine, but it's like they just let the dogs go with anybody. It's just so strange.
When I volunteered there, I never wanted to let any dog go with anybody.
Yeah. No owner was good enough. Yeah.
Anyway, but he's great. He's hard. He's really hard. I mean, basically, I'm used to having dogs that, you know, they communicate. I know how to communicate with them. You know, we had to work on it with Bailey. And you forget how much you had to work. I had to kind of remind myself of how hard it was when she first came, because now she seems so easy. But yeah, like he didn't know how to be in the house. And the first day it was great because the weather's been really good. So we've just been able to spend all day out in the backyard. And I've gotten, I have to admit, very little work done. But, you know, I can set my computer up on the table in the backyard and I can work. And I can be I've been able to be in the trailer and talk to him through the window of the trailer. He can come and look in the door of the trailer, but he can't get in because he's too big. He can't lift himself, you know, into the trailer.
So, I know, like, well, let's talk about some of his issues.
Okay.
You said he has hypothyroid?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't.
He has hypothyroid. He's low thyroid, and he's on thyroid medication. And he was at the SPCA for 3 months. he came in with a wound from being attacked by a dog, and he was surrendered. And then they stitched him up. That was kind of on his shoulder, and they stitched him up. And then they discovered that he had this low thyroid problem.
Well, and also doesn't he have, he's had, like you said, a chronic ear infection, which has damaged one of his ears?
Yeah. So
did you say that too?
Yeah. He had, they didn't realize at first, but after, they fixed him up and they realized his ear had a problem. So then they had to go in and clean out his ears, and they cleaned them, and then they came back, got really bad again. And they put him on antibiotics for his ears and ear medication. But the one ear bothers him. He shakes his head a lot, even though it's clean. Mm-hmm. The vet said it's clean. It's just the ear canal has kind of a lot of scar tissue, and it just, she said it just feels funny. And well, when he got to he lost 30 pounds. I think she said, yeah, he lost like 30 pounds. And I think, he should probably be more like 90 pounds, unless he's just a bigger dog than I think in terms of his body structure. I'm thinking probably he should be around 90 pounds. So he has another like 40 pounds to lose.
So he should be about 90 pounds. Did you say he's like 137 pounds now? He's
133. Yeah, when he came home.
133 when he came home. And he'd lost
almost 30 pounds. Yeah.
30 pounds. So he would have been like 160 pounds.
Yes.
And he should be around 90.
Yeah, like a large German Shepherd male German Shepherd would be like around 90
so
or so.
He was like double what he should be.
Yeah.
More than double
yeah.
What he should
and,
be.
I don't know. Do your ear canals get fat deposits? I have no idea. But he's very sweet, but he just he does whatever he wants. He's like a 130-pound toddler. And he doesn't really understand the word no, right? I mean, he's not probably had a lot of interaction. He probably was a backyard dog, and so he doesn't really, I'm just so much blah, 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 blah when I talk. And so he doesn't really understand the word no or anything yet, and he goes where he wants, and he weighs a lot more than most dogs do.
He can just go where he wants because he is so big,
So, and I'm going to say something that is probably controversial to a lot of people, but he came to us on a buckle collar, and I can't control him. Right? I'm not that, I'm not as strong as I used to be when I had the wolfhounds, but also the wolfhounds, they thought I was stronger than them. I knew them since puppyhood. So, but
he at 137 pounds, 133 pounds.
He weighs more than I do.
He outweighs you.
Yeah. And he's also, he's used to doing what he wants, So I could barely walk him. So after one day, we got out the chain collar that Nash had used, and I wasn't jerking him around or anything, but it just gives me a lot better control. And we were able to go for 3 short walks yesterday, and he's not dragging me around the house. He was dragging me through the house to get to toys. The first night, it was like every time he saw one of Bailey's toys, which, we didn't know he was coming, so I had not dog-proofed the house. And so he'd see one of her squirrels that she has, the squirrels in a tree, and he'd take off. I was flying behind him because he was on leash. Oh my gosh, it was so hard that first night.
Wow.
He just, he went where he wanted, and he's surprisingly fast for a big guy. If he's got something on his mind that he wants, he's surprisingly fast. And so, oh my goodness! But so that has made it a little bit easier to have some control when he has the leash on. But he's still, he wants what he wants when he wants it, and but he's very
just like a toddler.
Yeah, exactly. 130-pound toddler. But he did learn how to sleep on the pillow the first day, the first night. He can't be crated because we don't have a crate big enough. And I tried the X-Pen, but he just walked pushing the X-Pen. So the X-Pen is just moving around the room as like, okay, this is not going to work.
Well, because you're saying because he's a backyard dog, he's not housebroken either, right? So I have a couple questions. So that was the other issue he had. There's really no training. Not housebroken. He really is not comfortable in the house, right? You said he was. Yeah. He's used to being outside, so he's sort of anxious being inside, having to spend the night inside. So what other issues did he have? I guess I'll just ask my question. So he seems to be doing better being inside, right? The first night you said was sort of challenging, but so you picked him up Monday.
Yeah.
So he's only 2 nights.
Yeah.
Right?
And since Robert works swing shift, I was by myself in the evening. During the day we were out in the yard and it was fine. You know, he was able to go around we took him off the leash and he was able to go around the yard and, you know, do things. But then when it was time to come in, it got cold and I needed to come in for the night. I brought him in and we sat up in the spare room and I put the 2 dog pillows in there and he and Bailey were both there and I told Bailey to lay on her pillow, so she did. And then I just sat and crocheted while he paced and paced and whined and whined and paced and whined and paced and whined until luckily he's so big because he can't stand up for that long, right? At a certain point, he had to sit down. And then once he sat down, he can only sit for so long before he has to lay his body on the ground. So finally he laid down. But, you know, I would try to be as still as I could so he wouldn't pop up. But, you know, it was only going for like 20 minutes at a time. And then he'd be back up pacing and whining. And that was from about dinner time, like 6:30 after dinner until I finally thought, you know what? Okay, he's getting a little more comfortable in this room, but we have to sleep in the other room. Maybe this wasn't such a smart idea. I should have probably started over there. So then I got the bedroom ready and put the pillows down and, you know, closed the door. And so then I just let him pace around in the bedroom while I sat in the bed and did more crocheting. And again, same thing, you know, pacing and whining and pacing and whining until he finally laid on the pillow and fell asleep. And then Robert got home. I stayed up until Robert got home. And then once Robert got home, Robert took him out one more time. And then we were up a couple of times during the night, that first night, to take him out and stuff. But last night he slept all the way through the night. I mean, Robert gets home around midnight. Robert took him out then, but he slept the whole rest of the night. So he was tired. We were both tired.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then, what about the diet? How are you going to approach because he obviously needs to get off additional weight. Yeah.
The vet actually said she doesn't think he'll lose any more. I think maybe because of his thyroid issue. I'm not really sure. That surprised me when she said that. But she told me, you know, how much he was eating, and we're going to keep him at that amount for a while with just the extra activity and see what happens. So, and then we'll kind of gauge how he's going. I don't want to give him too little. You know, you don't want him to lose weight too fast. Right. Just like people. So, yeah. So anyway, right now it's just kind of the same amount, trying to feed him the same amount as what they were giving him. But, you know, using a lot of that food as treats. Yeah. You know, so to teach him things.
So, and then the housebreaking, do you think...
they said he was clean in the kennel, like he didn't go in his kennel at the SPCA. They would, you know, they try to take the dogs out and let them go to the bathroom outside of their pens. And they said, you know, he would hold it so that he could go when they let him out. So that was good. So that, you know, that's good. That makes it a lot easier to housebreak. So just making sure that he goes out often, you know, and we've been this is only the third day and it's been gorgeous. So we've been able to be outside, which is nice. Yeah. But when we do go out, when he is in the house, he's on the leash or inside of a closed room.
And then you just have to keep track of the time too. Like, I know with I got Enzo as a puppy, like, I don't know, it was like every 30 minutes or 40 minutes or something. I was taking him and giving him the opportunity,
And it doesn't have to be that often with Beary because he's older and he does have control. It's not like he doesn't have any control. It's just he doesn't know that, that room over there that we're not in is not the right place. Yeah. So, but he doesn't have access to any place except right where I am, which is why it's so tiring. It's like, I'll just tell one more story and then we'll get to the podcast topics. But the first day, every time, so I have to take him in with me when I went to the bathroom, right? Because nobody was home. It was just me. So I'd take him with me on the leash into the bathroom, and he would spot the waste paper basket and like dive in head first and eat something out of the waste basket. So every different bathroom we went in, of course, has a waste basket, and it's still on the floor. And here he goes, diving into the waste basket to eat something. And so, so now all the waste baskets are up off the ground in all of the bathrooms.
It'll be interesting to see as the months go by if you're able to get some of this excess weight off. If he starts feeling better, So
I think like some of the issues of not wanting to be lifted into the car is just like, okay, that hurts, and then so we'll see how that goes. Yeah. But it's a fun, it's an exciting thing. It happened super fast. It was totally unexpected. And it's been really exhausting, but it's good. It's really good. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Well, so I'm excited to hear about it going forward. But should we talk projects?
Yes, we should.
I have no dog updates, and he's just laying here on the floor next to me. Okay, seriously now, projects.
Yes.
Would you like to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So, I don't really have a lot to report. Walk Along, still work by Ankestrick, the t-shirt, still working on that. I'm alternating, working on that and spinning. I ordered another 8 ounces of the dark brown merino roving. And we talked about this in the last time that I'm not going to have enough of the fiber that I had to make a sweater quantity. And so I decided to order more of the dark brown to finish plying the green, but also to have extra so I can just do 3 ply of just the brown.
Oh yeah.
So then so I should have enough for a sweater. I'm fingers crossed. So then I can do stripes or something to have enough for a sweater. That's what I'm hoping. I'm just going to throw in there. I'll finish about my projects, but before I talk about my other things that are going on about roving, remember the last time we talked about when you're applying the singles and a single breaks and how you find the end. We did have, we talked about, ideas. We did hear from Jolene, JoJo Crafts a lot. And her comment was a tip on when your ply breaks and you can't find it, try a piece of tape and tape it around on the bobbin of yarn to see if it will find the elusive end.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Sort of like a lint, like getting lint off your sweater, but with tape. And you hope instead of lint, the end of the yarn will stick to it.
So that's a good tip. And I'm working on my socks. I think last time we were talking, I was working on the heel flap. I've now have finished the gusset and I'm moving on to the foot. Not a lot there to report, but I finished something.
Yay!
Guess what I finished? I finished my mitts, my Abington Mitts. And do you remember the last time we talked, I said I was not going to promise that I was going to finish them that evening because I never do. Guess what I did that night? Nice. I finished them. So I posted them in our, which we will talk about this later, but our Extremities Knit and Crochet Along. I posted that and that has ended and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I did finish those. And that's all I have to report.
All right.
not a lot of progress on anything. Just steady.
Well, yeah, just steady. Well, you've had a lot of stuff going on at your house, a lot of cleaning and painting and
yeah.
Your house
think
project.
I mentioned this. The contractor finished at the rental house, finished the basement. Well, his part of it. Now it's my job to go in there and paint it. So I've started. I was over there Monday and Tuesday, washing down the woodwork on the main floor, which the contractor wasn't there, but it was just dusty and, I'll just be honest, dirty. I guess I'm not that great a housekeeper, or I guess I didn't routinely wash. Well, I don't think I've ever washed down the woodwork in the living room and the dining room. I've washed down the kitchen and the bathroom before, but I didn't routinely wash down woodwork. And so guess what? It needed to be washed. So it looks great. That's the good thing, is it was a good paint job I did years ago, and it's held up, and just a good cleaning, and it's ready to go.
Nice.
So yeah. Anyway, but what about your projects?
Well, I had the Huck weaving sampler from the Jane Stafford Guild, and I think it was on the loom last time. I don't exactly remember. I think I had tied it onto the loom, but I hadn't started weaving, or maybe I had started weaving and I had woven the first part of the sampler and cut it off the loom and washed it. And then I wove the last part of the sampler, and I was thinking I would have another like yard length, and with the loom waist and just the shrinkage and stuff, I only ended up with maybe about 18 inches. But I wove it so the first one I wove the same silk that was in the warp I used as weft. And I made a small shawl that I actually have hung up in the studio. It'll probably be a sampler. I probably won't wear it as a shawl. I'll just keep it in there to kind of look at what I did. And then the second part of it, I wove with this linen. I have some cones of linen, and they're stained. This was like a porcelain blue color, pale porcelain blue, and it's a really rough spun linen. And I had used a cone of dark gray with that purple silk to knit a sweater, the cherry vanilla sweater that I made years ago. And this one was a porcelain blue color. And I thought, I'm going to weave with it and see how it weaves up. And also, since this is just a sample, if the stains don't wash out, that are on the cone, then I'll know. First of all, that it's not stained, like the outer edge was stained, right? So that just the first few yards. But the top and the bottom also have stains on it. So, as you go into the cone, you're going to pick up those stains at the top, the dirt and stuff that's at the top of the cone and at the bottom of the cone. And so I was, wondering if that was going to be worth using or not. You don't want to make a really nice project and then it doesn't wash out. So I thought, well, I'll weave with it and see if it washes out. And it mostly did. There was a little bit of the kind of rusty looking stains that stayed. But small enough that you really can't tell if if I didn't know it was there and go looking to see, did it wash out? I don't think I would have noticed. So that gives me an idea that I can use those cones, which most of them are dirty in that same way. I can use those linen cones for other things, which is kind of nice. 'Cause I think it's really, it's yarn I picked up when the weaving program at Hartnell stopped, and there was a lot of yarn in the weaving classroom, and I managed to score. I felt like a score to me. I managed to score all these, rustic linen cones. But if they were, too dirty to use, then I needed to know that. So anyway, I wove that, and I have it sitting on my vanity in the bedroom, just for just to use it for a little while. But I think it's probably just going to be a sample that I'll keep downstairs near the near the loom. Do something with it in the studio. So that was fun. Got all the Huck weaving done. Now I'm waiting for the Jane Stafford Guild. They have a switchover on their classes. And I think they might have been having a switchover on their website too. I was having a little bit of trouble accessing their website. Anyway, once that switchover happens and they're in their new site, she's supposed to release her next episode for the month of May. So I'm all done. I'm keeping up again. I have my my April project done, and my May project, we don't know what it is yet. So I can't get started. And then I have been working on, I mentioned sitting and crocheting, and saying, good, good, good boy, good. Like the calmest voice I could have. This is what I kept doing as I crocheted. So I did get some crocheting done, and I am now up to, let me just look. So I need 20 octagons for this blanket. I'm going to make it 4 octagons by 5 octagons, a rectangle instead of a square. I've got 15 of them. No, I've got 16 of them done because I finished one last night. So I've got 16 out of the 20 octagons done.
Oh,
yeah.
Getting there.
Yeah, I'm close. On the octagons, I'm close. The squares, I need 12 and I have 8 done. And then the half squares, which would be triangles, I need 14 and I don't have any of those done. And then I need 4 corners, which are also triangles, but they're smaller triangles. And I don't have any of those 4 corner triangles done. So I've still got some work to do. I'm going to end up with a lot of extra yarn. The number of balls of yarn that they called for this kit, for the kit that, or for the pattern, I think was so you had enough colors, but you end up with a lot of leftovers. So I'm going to have a lot, even though I'm doing, well, I bought extra because I ended up buying the kit of mini skeins, the package of mini skeins. So I bought more yarn than I thought I needed, and I even needed less than that. So even with the extra octagons, I think I'm going to have a significant amount of this yarn left over, but mother bears work good in acrylic.
Yeah.
And
charity hats
in acrylic. Yeah. There's lots of things I can do with it once I'm done. So yeah, making good progress on that again. It's really been the only thing I've been working on. I don't have a knitting project. Well, I have those socks that I started that were going to be the matcha socks. And then I started calling them not matcha socks because I couldn't even see the pattern. But I haven't picked those up. And I do think I'm going to, at first I thought I can just start where I left off and no one will ever know that it was a pattern. It was supposed to be a pattern. And now I'm just doing them plain. But I think I'm just going to rip them back and start over. So, but I haven't done that. So yeah, I have just the one crochet project going, and that's really it. That's the only active project I have.
Oh, so you got a lot going.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like a lot,
Well, the last couple of days for sure. But school's, school's been busy and starting a project, there's always a little bit of friction, right? You have to figure out what you're going to make, and you have to get the yarn balled up, and you have to find the right needles, and you have to do the kind of fiddly parts of getting going. And I just haven't really had a chance to do that. And the crochet has been inspiring me to keep going because I'm so close now. Yeah. So I've been pretty monogamous there. So yeah, that's it on my yarn projects. I now have a big furry project, but it's not yarn. So we did have the Extremities Knit and Crochet and Macrame Along.
Yeah.
I was waiting for some macrame socks to show up.
We never got any, but...
No. But we did have some nice entries. About 50 of them, I think. Entries into the Extremities Knit Along. And there were some crochet things, I do believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyway... we're going to draw prizes for that, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the projects that people submitted to that. So we have 2 prizes. One is the pattern for Abington Mitts by Jennifer Lassonde, and then the other prize is a pattern. It's actually a pattern collection, the Coffee Socks collection by Dots Dabbles Designs.
Earlier, we did the random number generator and pulled our 2 winners. So do you want to announce who they are?
Sure, yeah. So the winner of the Abington Mitts pattern is Jacqueline. And she made leg warmers. She actually made 2 pairs of leg warmers, or boot cuffs. Really cute. Yes. And then we drew her name for one of those pairs. And so she's going to win that Abington Mitts pattern. So congratulations, Jackie Marie.
Congratulations. Yeah. Yeah. And then our second winner?
Our second winner is Jill Mabelina. Jill. And she made a pair of Bernie mitts.
Yeah, she actually made 2 pairs.
Oh, did she? Okay. And that's right. That's right. I remember that now because it reminded me when I read it that I had downloaded the pattern to make the crocheted Bernie. You know, Bernie at it's a little amigurumi of Bernie at the inauguration with his mitts. And someone had posted a picture of it in one of my in one of my text groups of work friends had posted a picture of it. And I said, oh yeah, I saw the pattern. And somebody said, oh, I'd love to have one. And I said, oh, I'm downloading the pattern now. And then I never made it for her. So it reminded me that I had kind of promised to make a crocheted Bernie. I think probably the ship has sailed, but
I know. I think that meme is done now. I mean,
but the mitts,
it may come back.
But the mitts are really cool, and she made a really nice couple of pairs of those mitts. Yeah. So Jill, you win the Coffee Socks collection by Dots Dabbles Designs.
Yeah. And then I was just gonna. It's always fun to see what people make. Always intrigued by the patterns, and so just a couple things. I tallied up. We had 25 pairs of socks, 17 mitts or mittens, or I'm putting it all in the same category: the fingerless mitts, or like wrist warmers, and the 2 leg warmers, and 1 set of puppets would go on your hands. So so anyway, Super Kip, Natalie, she made panda puppets, and they're crocheted and they're adorable. They look like little mittens, but they're puppets.
And I think she said the intention is for to actually be used as like oven mitts or like barbecue grilling.
Oh, okay.
Mitts, yeah.
And the other one is Ulrika C. She did socks, and the pattern is called Vanilla is the New Black. And I comment on this because it was such an interesting heel. Did you look at this one? Very interesting heel.
It has kind of a diagonal.
Yeah, they're like like chevrons on the back of the heel, kind of, and then like a couple stitches of stockinette that go up. Anyway, they're interesting heel. So I just wanted to comment on that. And then Ferret Sue did the Hilja. That's probably not how it's pronounced, but the Hilja wrist warmers by Alex Bird. And I went to look at the pattern, and it's called an Estonian inlay technique called Rusamine. Did you see this one? It's very interesting. It looks sort of like I don't think this is what it is, but it sort of looks like the backside of stranded knitting.
Oh,
forming a pattern. It's very, very interesting. And so I wanted to comment on that.
I always love to see the different techniques that people use.
Yeah. And then the other one I commented was both Knitting Around by Patty and Bikes Brew Ewes by Kelsey. They both did mitts that are colorwork mitts with birds on them. And Patty did Springboard mitts, and Kelsey did Providence mitts. And they're really, really pretty. But it was interesting that they both did mitts with birds. Yeah, very nice. So that was just some comments.
Yeah, well,
lots of socks and lots of nice sock patterns.
Yeah, there's one sock pattern, the U-turn socks by that were made by Joy Lane. Those are so interesting. I have to get that pattern because the socks, like the front of the sock is done, side to side, like if you were knitting in the round, and the back part of the sock is knit lengthwise. So like you're knitting like from the top of the sock down to the heel. By looking at them, because they're striped, you can kind of tell the construction, but I don't know how it was done. Like I kept looking at the pictures and like, oh, how does that work? So I think I might have to try that. That looked very interesting, and maybe get a self-striping yarn. I don't typically knit with self-striping yarn because I don't make plain stockinette socks, but these look like a lot of fun. So maybe I can get a fun self-striping and try the U-turn socks. And then thinking of socks, Marsha.Bre on Ravelry.
The monkey socks?
She made several pairs of socks actually because she's doing, have you heard of Sock Madness, Marsha?
I've heard the term, but you'll have to explain it to me.
So it's
because she's got about 3 pairs of socks.
It's a contest on Ravelry where teams of people knit socks, and I think it goes along. I'm gonna go out on a limb because I don't know all that much about it, but I have a feeling it has something to do with like March Madness, but it's Sock Madness, and so there's some competition aspect to it where people get eliminated, teams get eliminated like they do in the basketball tournament. And so you have like 2 weeks to knit the socks, and your team has to knit the socks faster than the other team or something. Anyway, I remember hearing about it when I was going to a knit group over in Pacific Grove at the Monarch, and a woman there was doing it. It's like, oh my gosh. And basically she would put her vacation around this Sock Madness, like, you know, kind of plan vacation days and things for her work so that she could participate in Sock Madness and kind of maximize her knitting time because she was so into this sock competition. And it just sounded so crazy that it was fun, right? Like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm interested in this. Oh, I probably shouldn't be.
You have another project, a big project. To do something like this. Yeah.
And I'm not that fast of a knitter either. So
no.
But anyway, very interesting to see all her socks and you know, the different patterns. And they're not plain patterns. I mean, these socks that people are racing to finish are complicated, complicated patterns. So, and then the one last project that I'll mention, thinking of socks and interesting methods, is Lisa Casson. She made yoga socks and she used a knitting loom. And I thought that was really interesting. I mean, I know about knitting looms, but I really never think of them as a way to actually make a project like a pair of yoga socks. I mean, it is actually a tube, but I wouldn't have really thought about that. So she used her knitting loom and made a nice pair of yoga socks with the, you know, cut out for the heel and the toe.
Well, and now I'm looking at all the projects and I realized I made a mistake on something. I thought they were mittens. But they were felted oven mitts by Finn Ellen Knits. Did you see those?
Oh,
and that's Ellen. Yeah, they're oven mitts. It's
that's a really good idea. I need some pot holders.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at them right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a pot holder in the back, and I was just glancing at it and thought, oh, they were mitts. But now that I realize I made a mistake, it's actually they're oven mitts. What a great idea!
That is a good idea.
So,
yeah.
When you said about you're going to go out on a limb about what this sock madness is, I was going to say you're going to go out on an extremity.
Oh, that's good. I like it.
Anyway, congratulations to first of all, thank you to everybody for participating. This is really fun to see what people did, and then congratulations to our 2 winners. Yeah.
So go ahead and get in contact with me, and I will pass along your name to our donors, Jennifer Lassonde and Debbie from Stowell's Designs.
Just last 2 things. We have the summer spin-in is starting, and that's going to run Memorial Day through Labor Day. And for those people who are not in the United States where we celebrate Memorial Day and Labor Day, that'll be May 31st through September 6th. And traditionally Memorial Day sort of the official start of summer, and Labor Day is the sort of the official end of summer. So that's why we picked those dates. And we'll talk more about that. We've done this in the past. And we'll talk more about the summer spin-in in the next episode. Anything you want to add about the summer spin-in?
I'll put up a thread, a chat thread, where we can start talking about our spinning aspirations for the summer. Fiber prep, washing fleeces, buying braids of fiber to spin, all that kind of stuff. We can start
buying fleeces.
Yeah. So we can start talking about all the stuff we're planning to do in the summer with our spinning.
And then I just had one last thing. One of our listeners, Jolene, I'm sorry, wrong person. I'm reading my list here. Sarah, Sal Pal, she had asked in the thread what overshot weaving is. And I had tried to answer the question, just looking up, doing a Google search of a definition of overshot. And then her response was, okay, maybe this is a question for Kelly, but how the heck do you do it? Do you alternate the background color and the contrast color so the plain weave is happening behind the overshot? Does that, and I did not answer her question because I don't know how to answer her question. Can you answer that, Kelly?
Yeah, well, and actually she got some good answers. Cindy Q answered her in the thread also, but that is what happens. You have the kind of a background that's tabby, and then so every other pick, that's when you throw the yarn across the weaving or weave it in and out. Every other pick is plain weave. So you do a plain weave and then you do a pattern, which means you'll have like a float. The yarn will be floating over the top.
Okay, so when you say pattern, that's the overshot,
right?
Where you've got the float.
Yeah,
okay.
And so all those floats stack together to make designs, and snowflake type designs is the way I would describe them. That might not be exactly right, or like I'm looking at a quilt that's hanging on the door behind me to absorb sound, and it's like a star-shaped design, that they have in quilting. So that kind of sort of star-shaped designs. There's different, there's all different designs, but they're made from these layers or threads that are going across many threads, just like a float in stranded colorwork. But the floats in stranded colorwork are usually on the back. And these floats are on the front, creating the pattern. But it wouldn't be stable. You wouldn't have a stable fabric without those tabby or plain weave threads in between each of them. So, and normally too, the threads that that are the pattern are a thicker yarn, and then the threads that make up the ground, the plain weave, that goes in between are a thinner thread. So you don't really see the plain weave that much. You mostly see the pattern threads, but the plain weave is there to stabilize.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah, it's really an interesting pattern. And I think Sarah is interested in maybe trying it on her rigid heddle loom, which that would be an interesting thing to try on rigid heddle.
Well, I think that is everything. Do you have any last bits of housekeeping?
No. I think I better go rescue Robert from from watching the dog that I wanted.
Yes. Well, go take him for a walk, or he is on a training program now.
Right.
We should all be on a training program.
Well, that's what Robert said. They're going to get in shape together, so.
Okay. Keep us posted and keep posting pictures, because I love seeing the pictures of the dogs.
Will do, yeah. He's super photogenic. Bailey's hard to photograph, but he's really photogenic, and yeah, I have some really good pictures of him already.
And he doesn't move as fast either.
That is true. That's a good point. All right.
Anyway. Okay, we'll talk in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2ewesfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Betterinmotion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2 Ewes
doing our part for World Fleece.